small businesses here in the United States and specifically New York City have been hit really hard as a result of COVID-19, the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic, officially in phase one of its reopening process. And data this morning from the NFIB showing that small business owners are growing more optimistic. To discuss this, we are joined now by Jonnel, Doris, NYC Department of Small Business Services Commissioner. Jonnel, thank you so much for joining us. New York City has been through a lot this year, not to mention just COVID and recovering from that, but the looting and everything that we saw a couple weekends ago as protests are underway across the U.S. I want to get a pulse check from you on just how small businesses are doing in New York City right now. What does the recovery look like?
Well, thanks so much for having me. So, yes, we've been having some challenges here in the last couple of weeks, but, I was out in Flushing, Queens, in Chinatown, and around the city these last couple of days. And as you mentioned, businesses are optimistic. We see that businesses are opening back up. Our retail businesses are coming out to be open. Some of them are, have a slower start than others, but they are looking to get going. Some of them are ramping up their employees, bringing them back on, doing additional training because of all the COVID crisis, the COVID-19 crisis, and all the additional things that they need to do. So they're getting ready. But literally before here, I was in Flushing, walking the district with the elected officials there and speaking to business owners who are ready to get going, while still some other businesses are they're struggling to get back as well. So there's a lot of positivity and optimism, but also there are some challenges that we are seeing.
Jonnel, I want to just ask about quantifying the economic impact that we have in New York City when it comes to small businesses. There's a lot of talk out there that a second wave could potentially come in the fall. If that is the case, stores again might have to close their doors temporarily. So if that's the case, how much more damage do you think we'll see specifically in New York City with small businesses?
Yeah, look, we have 230,000 small businesses in the city. About 65% of them are 5 employees or less. And when you talk about delaying commerce for 3 months, it's really tragic. And it's folks' life savings. It's the mom and pop shops that we work with who've put all their investment into their business. And really, it's a family tradition. And we see all of that crumbling to some degree. But we are very happy and excited that the precautions that we've put in place, the health precautions, will then help us to get to where we need to be if there is another wave. We are offering PPE for our small businesses. We are giving them the training and the resources that they need to understand what the rules are. We are telling them all that they need as it pertains to the regulatory environment, the new regulatory environment. We're doing free webinars and free training sessions for them. We have a hotline. We've received up to close to 5,000 calls already, which we'll be able to help small businesses. So the city has the resources in place to help these small businesses so that if in case something does happen, they are ready and prepared. And I think that is what's going to help us to get through it.
And Jonnel, I'm just curious to know how PPP has sort of played a role in all of this. How critical has that paycheck protection program been in this recovery process for small businesses?
Yeah, so, I think initially when it started out, there were some challenges, right? I think the last few iterations of the program has really led it to really be small business focused. When we started off with the first tranche, you're looking at $200,000 or so is the average loan size. More recently, something under 50,000 or so we're seeing. And so that is where we want to get to. That's where we're hitting the smaller businesses who actually need it. We included the CDFIs in that model, which was helpful. The minority lending institutions, those who actually lend to small businesses in the community. And then most recently extending it now, the 8-week cap to 24 weeks, which is exactly what our restaurants and seasonal businesses were looking for. And then lastly, really around the amount of the rent of the loan that can be used for rent. And overhead expenses. In New York City, as you know, rent is we have a high rent and also high utilities expenses. So moving it from just 25% to 40% what the president just signed into law was very, very appropriate for New York City. And so we're going to see an increase, we believe, in small businesses utilizing that particular fund. But we are, in general, in the city, again, satisfied with the Paycheck Protection Program and the fact that it's now really flexible in order for our small businesses to engage with.
So certainly, like you mentioned, you're happy with the PPP program, but I'm curious to know if you think that the federal government and policymakers could do more here to help out the small business community, not just in New York City, but in the U.S. as well.
Yeah, look, we are, when I say we're happy with the PPP, one, it is a resource for our small businesses. The majority of them that are participating in it, it's been helpful. But there are still challenges. We understand the forgiveness component of this is also a challenge. I think we need to make that very clear and very concise as it pertains to, how small business can actually get this loan forgiven. That is one of the attractive portions of the program. And we want to make sure that the regulatory environment, again, is conducive for commerce, and by meaning that we really, really take care of all the ambiguity and the fact that a lot of this is not clear to small businesses. We need the federal government to give us a real clear answers on what it needs to do, what these businesses need to do to get the forgiveness component of this loan before it turns into an actual loan. And they have to keep that loan on their books for 5 years. So listen, I just think that it's a good program. It's the only resource many of our small businesses have right now. It's an affordable loan, which can be forgiven. But at the same time, I think some of the rules and the regulations around it are a challenge. And we want to make sure that we make that more clear and accessible to small businesses.
Jonnel, Doris, NYC Department of Small Business Services Commissioner, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me.